Welcome to the programme.
First, the armed raiders who brought terror to one of the region's biggest shopping centres.
Shots were fired and CS spray released as they burst into the Leslie Davis jewellery store at Centre MK in Milton Keynes at lunchtime. The mall was packed with Christmas shoppers and many families were forced to run for cover as the drama unfolded.
Well, tonight, 3 people are under arrest. The hunt for the rest of the gang is continuing. Neil Bradford is in Milton Keynes and joins us now. Neil, an extremely scary ordeal for everyone involved.
Yes, it's hard to imagine the terror that the workers in the Leslie Davis jewellery shop faced as the raiders burst in just before midday today. Clearly, this gang had no regard for the people around them. The jewellers is just feet from this children's carousel, part of the Christmas display that dozens of families had come to see. This is the first armed robbery in the centre's history, and it was the most audacious of raids. This is covered in CCTV cameras.
It was the most terrifying hour this shopping centre has ever seen. What began as a normal weekday morning soon turned to panic and chaos. Just before midday, armed robbers opened fire in a busy part of the centre. They also used a CS gas spray as they robbed the Leslie Davis jewellers. As shots rang out, people began running for their lives.
I was just inside the shop with a client, and I see it's like 50 people. There was like running here like a rain, and I get very scared. And there was children, and they was start crying, and they just come to hide in the shop, and they just told me, somebody here over there with a gun or something,
Someone shouted gunshots, and we just ran. We just ran across to the car park.
What makes this robbery all the more frightening is just how close it is to the Christmas show here. There were children on the carousel as the armed robbers struck.
Just helped all the elderlies with bottles of water, just to try and keep them calm, stop them from coughing, just try to evacuate people to the nearest exit for some fresh air, basically.
It's the first time armed robbers have struck at the Centre MK.
It was frightening for the staff in Leslie Davis. It was a surprise. It's unknown in Milton Keynes. We have, as I say, quite extensive security with a number of CCTV cameras, and it is virtually unknown.
2 people, including a child, were taken to hospital after breathing in the fumes from the gas. Workers from nearby shops told me many more were overcome.
All we see is kind of people choking and holding their breath. Me and Richard started walking down and immediately was hit by the kind of gas smell and started choking.
It's thought the robbers made off with a number of designer watches, but police have already made 3 arrests. They say more may follow.
We've currently made 3 arrests linked with this so far. We may be looking to make further arrests at a later stage.
Detectives have now confirmed the bullets fired by the robbers were blanks, but the fear they created this lunchtime was very real indeed.
Pretty shocking stuff. Neil, can you tell us more about the police investigation into this?
Well, the wider cordon in the shopping centre has now been lifted. Police forensic officers are still on scene at the jewellers working behind me. As you heard, they made 3 arrests rather quickly after this raid. Now, they're not ruling out that they're looking for other people. They believe that as well as members of the gang inside the shop, there were also members of the gang elsewhere in the shopping centre, and it's expected that there will be more arrests to follow.
Neil, thanks for that. Frightening stuff in Milton Keynes there. Now, Cambridgeshire Police have paid £3,500 in compensation to a woman who complained about the way a rape allegation was investigated.
In a case believed to be the first of its kind in this country, her solicitor threatened to sue them under the Human Rights Act. Now, police have paid out an out-of-court settlement and issued the 2 officers involved with warnings. Victoria Webb reports.
Harriet Wistridge is the lawyer responsible for this landmark legal case. Her client Catherine came to her for help after claiming Cambridgeshire Police didn't class her rape allegation as a crime.
When you then go and report that to the police and the police fail to take your complaint seriously and fail to investigate it, that is, absolutely compounds the distress and the trauma that she suffered.
Officers heard from 38-year-old Catherine, who suffers from bipolar disorder, 2 months after the alleged attack. Catherine first contacted police in December 2005. She rang again in February 2006 and was told the allegation had been recorded as a non-crime. It later emerged that her file had been left under a pile of paperwork on a senior officer's desk. Because of the delay, crucial CCTV pictures of her attacker making her withdraw money from a cash machine had been wiped. Catherine got in touch with Harriet, who prepared to sue Cambridgeshire Police under the Human Rights Act. In Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, it says that no one should be subject to inhumane and degrading treatment, and that the state has a duty to investigate cases. Now, as Harriet points out, if someone is a victim of rape, which falls into that category, then the police should investigate the allegation. Although Cambridgeshire Police made no admission of liability in this case, they awarded Catherine an out-of-court settlement of £3,500 and sent her a letter of apology. In a statement, a spokesperson said the record-keeping of one officer was found to be wanting and another officer was found to have failed to investigate a matter expeditiously.
Her reason for bringing the claim was so that the police could be held accountable in public, and so that other women who've been through similar experiences could see that there are ways in which you can get redress.
Harriet says for Catherine this wasn't about the money. She just hopes other victims will receive better treatment in the future. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Cambridge.
There were emotional scenes today as two cousins from Essex left their families to be extradited to Cyprus.
Michael Binnington and Luke Atkinson are to serve a prison sentence for the manslaughter of a teenage moped rider on the island. The pair left Witham early this morning for a London police station before flying out to Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus, where they'll now spend a minimum of 6 months of their 3-year jail sentence. Lorna Ramsey reports.
This is the moment Michael Binnington and Luke Atkinson hoped would never come. At 6:30 this morning, they surrendered themselves to Belgravia Police Station in London, ready to be extradited to Cyprus. Their family travelled with them from Witham railway station to London so they could say their goodbyes. And when the time came, it was emotional for all involved. Yesterday they were packing their bags at Binnington's home at Great Totham near Malden. They told me that although they've spent 6 months on remand in a Cyprus jail, nothing can prepare them for what's to come.
Until you're there and you're in, we don't know how we're going to get, sort of what reception we're going to get, whether it's all died down, no one's interested, or whether it's going to be blown back up again and be a big sort of thing in the papers out there. But you can't prepare for it. You've just got to obviously, just take each day as it comes.
Binnington and Atkinson will serve 3 years for the manslaughter of Christos Paprias, who was 17. They were passengers in a car which hit his moped and killed him. Their uncle Julian Harrington, who was driving, is currently serving a 15-year sentence after admitting manslaughter. The cousins were originally cleared of any blame, but were later found guilty in their absence at the Supreme Court in Cyprus. Journalists on the island say local people have welcomed the extradition.
Well, I think there's a general feeling that justice being seen to be done. It also brings closer to this whole thing. I mean, the actual incident happened, 3 years ago. It's been hanging around. It's really unfair to the family as well. They decide to keep being brought up. They lost a son.
But the cousin's solicitor says their acquittal should have never been overturned.
It's a complete travesty of justice. These boys were acquitted. They were sitting in the back seat of a car in Cyprus, and they stood trial for murder, and they were actually acquitted by the court that heard the evidence against them.
The cousins may have lost their appeal against extradition, but their legal team will be applying for a transfer as soon as possible so they can serve the remainder of their sentence here in the UK. And it's thought that will take at least 6 months. So until they're repatriated, their families will have to travel to Cyprus to visit them. Lorna Ramsey, Anglia News,